Cheaper by the Dozen focuses on the rambunctious exploits of a blended family of 12, the Bakers, as they navigate a hectic family life while simultaneously managing their family business. This is co-written by Kenya Barris and Jennifer Rice Genzik Henry. It was directed by Gail Lerner, and it just premiered on Disney Plus over the weekend. And it's shockingly the fifth film in the Cheaper by the Dozen franchise, which, as I've said, I'm kind of surprised to be calling a franchise. This takes on more of a Brady Bunch / Yours, Mine, and Ours approach, with the family comprising of two divorced parents and their children from their respective previous marriages, and there's a bit more of a wholesome feel to it. It actually returns a bit to the roots of the original 1950s film, itself based on a true story, where the family is pretty consistently tight-knit, and with most of the mischief being amusing, but ultimately harmless. Gone are all the slapstick pratfalls and mean-spirited pranks that were a huge part of the two Steve Martin films, and instead this goes for a more heartwarming, good-natured tone, which I think works a little better here. It allows all the cast to show off their charms and give us characters that are much easier to root for than the Martin films. Both Zach Braff and Gabriella Union are strong here as the two parents, with some nice chemistry with one another, and the arcs of each of the children revolve around topics about the pains of growing up and fitting in. I appreciate the down-to-earth approach to it, and found the misadventures of the family to be fairly enjoyable here. The main plot sees them move since Braff, known for his breakfast restaurant and a distinct sauce he makes, is approached about a big business deal that would see him turning his mom-and-pop operation into a franchise. This does actually lead into some amusing gags, including my absolute favorite moment in the film where he panics over how to dress for his big meeting. Though while things start off solid enough, unfortunately, it does begin to devolve into painfully predictable territory towards the end, where we see how he gets too caught up in his work, and it causes Union to struggle dealing with so many kids at once. And on top of that, you have the interference by both of their exes, which leads to a lot of butting of heads. And while everyone's still doing what they can with the material, they can't help keeping this from falling apart a bit in this latter half, as it begins relying too heavily on cliches and familiar tropes that give it a cornier feel, especially in the way in which conflicts get brought up and resolved almost immediately sometimes, which honestly was an ongoing theme with some of these movies. It tries to tap into its more emotional side, where all the misunderstood kids' issues come to a head at once, but while there are some commendable moments that I enjoyed, I found it to be too rushed and by the numbers for it to completely stick the landing. I do think there are some nice enough moments in there that kids will certainly appreciate, but its overly familiar approach is too much at play to give it a longer lasting appeal. And in the end, it makes this version of Cheaper by the Dozen not a total success, but I'd say it's at least an improvement over the two Steve Martin films. There's definitely more of a charm to it, with a down-to-earth approach that leads to quite a few amusing moments, and while that does carry it for most of its runtime, it does devolve into too many cliches and corny moments in its latter half that ends it on a weaker note than it began. That being said, it has a good heart, and I think kids will appreciate it. There might just not be enough there for anyone beyond that target audience though. Cheaper by the Dozen gets a 5.5 out of 10. So now that I've covered all the other Cheaper by the Dozen movies, stay tuned as I'll soon have a ranking of all 5 films on the way. And in the meantime, let me know, did you see Cheaper by the Dozen, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like it more than the other films, less than the other films? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.